Chapter 2. Now, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. The Greek word here is magoi, magi. These are probably Zoroastrian priests. They were familiar with the Judean prophecies because Zoroastrianism actually got started about the time. It's probably a copy of Judaism being exported into the Babylonian kingdom, so they would have known about the Judean prophecies. They believed in a god and a god and an enemy, and these ones believed in something more. Behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who had been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose, and have come to worship him." When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Now Herod wasn't even a Jew, right? Herod was, if I remember right, Herod was an Idumean. He was from the hostile country just south, and had been put in charge of the Jewish country. So a genuine Jewish heir is a threat to his power, and a threat to his legitimacy. So he has reason to be troubled. But all Jerusalem with him shows you, you're going to see for the rest of this gospel that when God's genuine power shows up, the false powers are going to get challenged. And assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it is written by the prophet, and you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod summoned the wise men secretly, and ascertained from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, that I too may come and worship him." Yeah, right. And after listening to the king, they went on their way, and behold, the star that they had seen when it rose went before them until it came to rest over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they fell down and worshipped them. Then opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. Now when they had departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, and said, "Rise, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." And he rose and took the child and his mother by night, and departed to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet, "Out of Egypt I have called my son." Then Herod, when he saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, became furious, and he sent and killed all the male children in Bethlehem and in all that region who were 2 years old or under, according to the time he had ascertained from the wise men. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by the prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, weeping and loud lamentation. Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be comforted, because they are no more. But when Herod died, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, "Rise, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel, for those who sought the child's life were dead." And he rose and took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was reigning over Judea in place of his father, not a nice guy, Herod was afraid. He was afraid to go there, and was warned. And being warned in a dream, he withdrew to the district of Galilee. There he lived in a city called Nazareth, and what was spoken by the prophets might be fulfilled: "He shall be called a Nazarene." Interesting things. I know this story usually gets told alongside the Christmas story, but if you notice, this is the visit of the Magi is 1 to 2 years afterwards, after the birth of Jesus. So we're not talking seeing a little swaddling baby in swaddling clothes. We're probably talking like a toddler. Other interesting things. Once again, Joseph's faithfulness continues to be God's faithfulness in looking after and protecting Joseph and his family. Joseph's faithfulness continues to be shown, that the response is always yes. Going to Egypt was not random or crazy just to fulfill a prophecy. One of the largest concentrations of Judaism time in the world outside of the city of Jerusalem itself was the city of Alexandria with its great library and a large Jewish community. And that had been true for centuries, since before the times of Alexander the Great. And this is actually where kind of the default Bible of their time was called the Septuagint, which had been 300 years earlier, had been translated in Alexandria, not in Jerusalem. And it was in Koine Greek. So there was a Jewish community there, right? And he went there, and he would have had people that he could stay with, or a community that shared his culture, and he could work with them, and they shared his religion. So it isn't just completely random. The other thing to notice, though, is some of these prophecies, until Matthew talked to them, we didn't know they were prophecies. There's this idea, people keep looking for prophecies to be fulfilled once. And God is a master of time and space. He invented them both. A lot of times prophecies have a short-term fulfillment and then a long-term fulfillment, which is usually even more important. And this definitely happening with a lot of these prophecies. We're talking about Israel coming in. Jesus, as Israel's faithful king, is going to kind of retrace the steps of the Old Testament. Right? He's going to basically be Israel. But when sinful Israel in the Old Testament was told, go back to the promised land, they rejected it. They were afraid. There was the whole rebellion. Remember the old children's song, 12 men went to spy on Canaan, 2 were bad, and 10 were bad, and 2 were good. What would they do when the spy on Canaan? 10 were bad, and 2 were good. They rejected it, and they ended up spending the next 40 years in the wilderness as punishment of not faithfully obeying. And Jesus obeys where the people of the children of Israel had been unfaithful. Jesus is faithful. This is going to become important when we look at the book of Hebrews. And Jesus being the faithful high priest who never sinned, unlike us who are sinful and we sin. So Jesus is already obeying, and Jesus' family is obeying where the people of Israel were sinful previously. This is important because in order to be the Messiah, in order to die for us, Jesus can't ever have sinned, or else he'd die for his own sin. He had to live pure and holy and never sin, even though he was tempted, so that he couldn't die for his own sins. He could die for ours. And then being God and being an infinite, the sacrifice could be for all. And also, God plays things out really well in unexpected ways. Nazareth is not far from Jerusalem. It's kind of the heart of Judea. All right, Bethlehem. Bethlehem is you can walk there in a day from Jerusalem, not a problem. Nazareth is way up the very top of the country, and it was in Galilee, this Gentile polluted land. It's always was so close to Tyre and Sidon and all these evil Greek and Romanized cities. So simultaneously, through these circumstances, prophecies were fulfilled that must have seemed at the time to be contradictions. That you'd be from the city of David, which is Bethlehem, but he would be a Nazarene, which is a whole different state, right? A whole different region of the country. And how could the Messiah be both? Well, God had a plan. They didn't see it, and nobody predicted it. Because obviously, if it had been easy to predict, when they couldn't find him, they'd have just started hunting in Nazareth. Right, so that's the end of chapter 2, and kind of my God thought on that one is, there's a lot to cover in 2, and there are many, but people are going to talk about how the gifts that the wise men offered showed that they knew about the prophecies of his role. Gold fit for a king on his coronation. Incense for his role as a priest, was priests would offer incense. And myrrh, which was to intern bodies, so as the sacrifice that Jesus would be. That these actions, these gifts are prophecies for his role as our prophet, priest, and king. It's kind of interesting. Thought I would share that one. All right, so next week, tomorrow, I'm gonna get through chapter 3, where things start to get kind of lively. And we're going to get into Jesus' adulthood soon. So, that's kind of the prologue. And thank you for following with me and listening to my thoughts on the beginning of Matthew so far. And I hope to hear more. I hope to hear your feedback. And I hope to share more of God's Word with you in a bit. All right, peace.